you start to question your value. You start to question your self-worth.
Like, the more money you got, the more successful you are, and most people really do buy into that.
But really, I just needed a break.
What I love is helping people.
I'm Julie Bauke, and welcome to The Evolved Career, a podcast where we help you determine what truly does matter most to you and how it can have a profound impact on your life. Today, we're joined by Corey Carlson, author of Win at Home First. Welcome, Corey.
Well, thank you very much, Julie. Thanks for having me here.
Now, I described you as author, coach, and speaker. How do you describe yourself? If you met a stranger on the street and they said, "Who are you, dude?" What would you say?
I say I help executives win at home and work.
Okay, what does win at home mean?
You know, win at home means, thriving. It's a place that you want to be. It's a place that when you walk through that door, threshold after the end of the day, you want to be there. You're not sitting there thinking, I'm annoyed, my kids are stressing me out, my spouse is nagging. It's a place you want to be. It's a safe place. It's a place where you, your spouse, your kids thrive.
Yeah, and I read your book and highly recommend it. One of the things that really struck me in the book was you talk about not everybody is looking forward to going home at the end of the day. We think sometimes in this nirvana that, that when the bell sounds at 5 or whenever it is we can leave work, that we're going home and we're excited to be there. But you gave several examples in your book of that's not the case always.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, thanks for reading the book. Thanks for recommending the book. I greatly appreciate it. When I got into this, I know we'll unpack my career as we talk, but when I started getting into executive coaching and spending time one-on-one with different clients, what I found so often is what we talked about on the one-on-one calls was actually not even work-related. Even though I got hired to help their job, their company, improve culture, improve vision, values, find ways to increase the profitability in their company, what we ended up talking about one-on-one was actually, how do I engage more with my spouse? How am I more intentional with my teenage daughter? And so just the constant theme of, I could just tell a lot of these business owners, executives, they need to win at home first in order to have capacity to do well at work, in order to be empathetic to others. And it's interesting talking with not only clients, but as I've been involved and had this kind of top of mind idea, people go to where they get wins in their life. And so often we go to work because it's easy. It's a metric that we know, hey, if I hit these different numbers, then I'll be successful at work. And what makes home challenging is there aren't those metrics. There aren't the KPIs, right? The key performance indicators. There aren't those pieces to know, hey, home is winning. And so when we feel friction, when we feel tension, it's easy. I'm just going to leave, go to work, because there I know I can be successful.
Yeah, can you imagine if you tried to introduce KPIs at home or report cards?
That's right.
Honey, let's sit down and talk about your performance.
Oh, man.
That would not go well.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, and I always say we can't live in silos.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live in silos. You can't just, when you walk across the threshold every morning to work, you can't forget about these other parts of your lives, even if we think we're good at it, we're not. Now, one of the things I loved about your book is that you're so honest and transparent. A lot of books that might fall into that self-help genre are really pretty much, I'm awesome, you can be awesome too, do these things. But I found yours to be, in fact, I was so struck by the transparency that every time I came across a phrase, you're like, I had an affair. I have no friends. I was in a funk. We met with a bankruptcy attorney. I'm like, wow. It to me, that it's really this nice kind of do as I say, because here's what I've learned from what I did when I didn't do these things. To me, that was one of the most powerful parts of the book, is you weren't sitting on a mountain prophesizing about how awesome all your decisions have been and why can't everybody be as awesome as I can. When you had the idea for the book, was that part of your plan for the book, or did that evolve as you were writing it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, my style, even on phone calls with clients, is transparent, because I believe in authenticity. And so if I'm following a guru or a leader or a mentor, whatever it may be, I want them to be authentic as well. Because once it feels very, I'm better than you, then I distance myself. So that's always been my style. I mean, I will say that the book, as I just started to write, some of the stories that I had, it was like, that's the story that made the most sense. I
Yeah.
mean, I had to share this particular story in my own life because I knew that's what it would take.
Yeah. It's so much more powerful than a friend of mine, John.
Yeah.
Let's call him John Doe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so I want to read a quote from the book. When you truly know who you are, what you stand for, and what you're going after, you can forget your imposter self, your selfish desires, your insecurities, your fears, your doubts, and your cares what others think of you. Now, Corey, I'm going to assume you were not born knowing this. How did you get there? Tell us a little bit about your journey from, a engineer, which was your very first career, to where you are today. Give us the story, some of the highlights that got you there. What were those pivot points, those moments in which you said, I need to go in a different direction?
Yeah. And there's been numerous pivot points, and I'm grateful for every single one of them because I do think they built a competency of not only business acumen but just life experiences that have helped me get to where I'm at now. And it started with a civil engineering degree out of University of Missouri, and it's funny how I got into civil engineering was I was good at math, and people said, hey, you should do engineering, but I also love downtown developments. I just love seeing cities kind of come together. And so I thought, hey, maybe that's what I'll do. So I went down that path and then started working for a fantastic company right out of college. But quickly I realized that wasn't for me. The company was amazing, but sitting in a cubicle designing airport pavements, and I was like, this is not what I want to do. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went on this journey in my 20s of, do I go to law school? So I took the LSAT. Do I look to other careers to switch into? So I thought maybe the MBA, an MBA would help me transition. In that journey, I found technical sales. So I could join a company where I sold civil engineering type products. I was like, this is exactly what I want to do because it's engaging with people, which I love, I get energy from, but I'm still in that technical space. And so I joined a company in Kansas City called Contech and was a sales individual for them, had a territory and kind of your typical sales trajectory where you have a territory, you grow it, they then cut it in half, put another individual in that territory and tell you to do it again. And I was blessed to be able to do it again. And so then got promoted to Denver, Colorado, where I managed like 10 states and a bunch of people, and then promoted and moved to Cincinnati, which is how I get to Cincinnati and where we still live.
And all this was with Contech.
All this was with Contech. So basically I had a 10-year career with them, and it was fantastic. And while I was at Contech, a couple things happened. One, just a lot of different experience and boardroom experience and leading teams. And I was VP of a $100 million division there, and I needed help. I had an awesome boss, but we were traveling different directions every week. And I just basically told him I needed help. I loved his wisdom, but I just didn't get enough touch points. He's like, hire an executive coach. I've had one, and they're great. So I ended up hiring one, and I fell in love with that process where I got an outside perspective. I had a good, healthy accountability to different things I was trying to implement at the office. But my executive coach was also kind of a holistic coach where it was, hey, we're talking about home, we're talking about work. We were incorporating biblical truths into the coaching. And so his name was Brandon Schaefer, and that was about 6-7 years ago. And eventually, fast forward, it's ended up who I start working with on my coaching. But so the key points in that part of my journey was, one, I hired an executive coach and liked that. But then I took one other corporate move where basically one day in the office, I looked at my email, had an executive recruiter from, via LinkedIn reach out to join this company and be the national sales manager. And I was like, this could be a cool opportunity. It's a green field. I could grow a sales, a team, build culture. And so I left, did that. And it was very neat experience, learning experience. And so that was probably another pivot point in my career because then I started to lead not only the people for the business, but the people for who they were. And so it became really about coaching them instead of just, kind of managing them. That was a big pivot point when I started to implement these tools that I was being fed into the team I led.
Wow. It's funny, because I would imagine back when you were an engineer and you said, oh, I can't sit in a cubicle any longer.
Right.
If you can think back to that moment when you realized I've got to do something different, what was that like emotionally?
Oh man, it's tough because there's days where you're like questioning like who you are, where am I going in my life? Like I was not getting energy. Like where I'm at right today, I can't believe I get to do this for a living. I can't believe I get to talk on a podcast. I can't believe that I get to help people, lead them through transformation. It's exciting to get up, go to work. It's exciting to do that. The different times I've made my job changes, and at the very end, or at least towards the end, it's draining.
Sure.
It doesn't give life. It's just like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And I think as listeners of your podcast, as they're feeling that tension, it's a nice wake-up call. I mean, it is not a big thing I've learned, and it ties in that quote that you opened this piece with, was you can't tie your job to your identity. Because once you tie your job to your identity, then you start to question your value. You start to question your self-worth. You start to question all these different things. And that's good and bad with the job. If you're running the division, you got the corner office and everything's amazing. Well, if you tie your identity to that and it comes crashing down, that's when we have midlife crises. That's when we have people just go off the rails. Same thing is if you get to that lull in a career, then it doesn't mean that you're awful.
Yeah, but it's so, what you experienced when you said, I don't want to be an engineer, and then you were in sales, and you said, this is great. So being an engineer was great for you for a while. Mm-hmm. Being in sales was great for you for a while. Being a sales leader was great for you for a while. But those moments in which we're like, I don't think this is what I want to do anymore, can be incredibly painful. But it's what we do with it, what we do with that feeling that I don't think this is me anymore. And there are way too many people who do I only have to work for 20 more years, then I can retire, who decide that it's okay to be stuck for 15, 20, even 2 years. That's where we make the mistake. And what you're saying is, this hasn't all been puppies and unicorns. I've had those moments where I've said, this is not for me anymore. I wonder what else there is out there for me. And it's that moment where you decide that you deserve more, you want more or different, mm-hmm. and you're willing to take action that lead to career satisfaction. But it's darn scary. One of my favorite sayings is, when one door closes, another opens, but it's hell in the hallway. Those periods are really painful. Mm-hmm. And so, I acknowledge that was your truth as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. One thing when I talk with people who are stuck, and I mean, it's so unfortunate people are stuck, but so often what is holding people back is that financial component. And you mentioned, well, I only have 20 more years. And usually what is tied to that is, well, I make X amount of dollars. My lifestyle is based on that. Yes. I can't make any changes because of that. And my encouragement it's in my book as well as the coaching group I work with, but it's the 5 capitals.
Yes.
And so just real quick is number 1 capital, spiritual, then it's relational, then it's physical, then it's intellectual, and then it's financial. And we can unpack that more if we want to.
Yes, I'd like to. Yes.
But the high level of this point is so many, they need to be in that order, but so many people make career decisions based on the lowest one, which is financial.
Yes.
And so if they are stuck, they will stay stuck because of the financial needs. And every time I made a transition, no question, it's been somewhat scary, especially this last one, going from the highest corporate salary I've ever had and deciding, hey, you know what? I'm going to leave that and go be an entrepreneur and start a coaching business. There was a lot of long conversations in our house
I bet
about how to pull that off. But if I would have only looked through the lens of this financial capital, I never would have made the jump.
Yeah.
Therefore, I would never be where I'm at right now and experiencing the breakthrough and,
Yeah.
and getting to do this. And so if anyone is stuck in their job, highly encourage the listener to put this new job, the current job, as well as any new opportunities through that 5 capitals lens.
Yeah, let's talk about that because there was a point in each of them that there's 5 capitals and financial is one of them, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. But let's start at the beginning. Your first of the 5 capitals is spiritual, and I capsulize that as a relationship with something greater than yourself. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for some it's God. For some, it's just something bigger. But we also, when we work with companies, we'll tie that spiritual to purpose. Like, what is the purpose of this company? What is the purpose of the individual? So as you think through career change and what's going to happen, what is your purpose?
Right.
What makes you come alive? And I love that quote of, don't worry about what the world needs, what makes you come alive, because that's what the world needs. And that's exactly that idea of purpose. It's so what gives you life? How do you help people?
When we're
that's the
in
purpose
crisis, when we're in this tough space, it's so easy to really make it all about you and what you're feeling, and no one's ever felt this way, and it's all me, and that's just kind of a crappy place to live no matter what's going on in your life. And so knowing that, whether it's being a part of, like you said, whether it's God related, whether it's universe related, whether it's just being a part of something bigger, is your family. What is it that you connect to outside of yourself? The second capital, relational. You said in your book, I realized I didn't have real friends. My experience is that is more common with men.
Absolutely.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a variety of reasons. I think one big reason is that men, and even working women, is you're working hard all week long, and which is a good thing. But when you come home, and when I talk about it in that book, that part in my life in that book, and was I was traveling Monday through Friday, giving my best to my work, and then I came home. I was trying to be super, super husband, super dad, and so I was all with my kids and my wife, and it sounds healthy, kind of maybe, right on the surface, but really it wasn't, because I need guys in my life. I need guys to have adventure with. I need guys for accountability. I need guys to fill me up, and also just to hear kind of what's going on, to get inspiration from them. Also to hear, hey, things aren't going great for them, and find that relatable. And so when I was in that season, I didn't have any close guy friends. And then so what I ended up doing was going through some content with my coach, realizing I had no friends. I needed to go get some. And I had buddies I could go grab a beer with, but it was surface level conversations. I wasn't really doing life with anybody. Fast forward to now, in a fantastic men's group, I've got other circles of guys that I spend time with, knowing what, we share what's going on in marriage. We share the challenges we have in parenting. We share the challenges in our businesses as we're trying to either grow them or whatever the topic may be. And so I talk with a lot of different leaders, and they lack the strong friendships because they're giving their best to work and they're giving their best to family, and they have nothing left. And so my wife and I, years ago, realized the importance of this through mentors. And so we have things in our schedule, and that it's like, hey, she's got ladies' night or I've got guys' night. But what I love about it is when she goes out on her ladies' nights, she comes back energized, excited. And so it's also, obviously, you got to spend time with good people.
Sure.
She doesn't go out with women
Right.
that are bashing on their husbands, but
Yes.
instead they're all, life-giving women. With me, I can't just go with a bunch of guys and, we're slamming beers and talking about how bad our wives are. No, I surround myself with guys that love their wives, that are engaged with their kids. And so when I go there, I get inspiration, I get ideas, I get things I can bring back to my family to fill them up.
So you're saying our parents were right? Choose your friends wisely.
Absolutely.
'Cause they're a reflection on you. They
Yes,
certainly are.
yes.
Yeah. The third, the physical capital. I went and Googled this saying I found recently that I just loved, that you describe physical as kind of energy management. And I found this saying that I love: time you enjoy wasting is not wasting time.
I like that.
Yeah, I think sometimes this feeling that, and I love the how you describe it as energy management. We don't have to be in constant motion. Certainly, we need to keep ourselves moving. We need to take care of ourselves physically. But a big part of that, it's not just I have to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, but managing your energy and understanding that that looks different for you than it does for everybody else. That sometimes laying on the couch, binging Netflix for a couple hours is exactly what you need. You don't want to do 6 or 7 hours or 3 days of that, but understanding what you need from an energy perspective, and that every moment doesn't have to be clocked as productive. And really understanding what you need and honoring that. React to that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, I think what each of us need to find is what gives us rest. Like, if I actually go do X, then it gives me rest, and I'm ready to engage with the world again. And so an example, like in our house, is if Holly and I are both tired, she can go watch TV, and then let's say I want to go take a nap, for example. If I come back from that nap, I'm engaged. I'm ready to go. And she's the same way with TV. Yeah. However, if I watch TV, that is absolutely not rest for me. I get pulled in, I watch it, and then when I'm done, I am frustrated I wasted the time. I could have mowed the yard. I could have read a book. I could have done something. But so we're all wired differently for different types of rest. And it has to do with being an introvert. It has to do with being an extrovert. It has, all these different elements to it. So it's finding what gives you rest and then leaning into that.
And honoring that in your partner.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because it's not how you get rest doesn't make it wrong.
That's right. I mean, that was a friction point for us at one point in our marriage, because I couldn't understand how watching TV would give her life. But it does. It absolutely does. And now that we've got 3 kids, and I can already see some of my children can do the TV for rest, where others, the others can't.
Yeah.
So it's finding, just what gives you that rest so you have energy to engage. Like even I mentioned naps. There was a long time in my life I thought naps were a sign of weakness.
Ah, okay.
That
shame on you.
Yeah, exactly.
I love a good nap.
Yeah, and so as I've gotten older, as well as just the more you read and hear from other mentors, man, napping is incredible. And I mean, I don't do it every day for sure, but but you just see that there's such good things in rest, and the idea of going all day long, drinking Red Bulls, drinking all this coffee, that's gonna get it done. Absolutely not.
Yeah, work macho. I call it being work macho.
Yeah.
So you brag about how many hours, how many hours you worked and how little sleep you get, and that's heading straight to someplace no good. Your 4th capital is intellectual capital. Insights, ideas, books, podcasts. What are you doing to tickle your brain, to build your brain? What is that for you?
For me, it is books, reading different books, ones that are maybe particularly helpful right at that moment for a client, what their needs are. Maybe it's something I'm trying to grow in. I try to think of different things that I want to grow in, and then so I'll find books based on that. I'll listen to different podcasts. There's different podcasts I like the actual host and what they bring, but then there's topics that I may want to be listening to. For example, like Enneagram is a hot topic right now, and it's an amazing way for not only self-awareness, but awareness of your coworkers. So on that, I'm going to go find a bunch of different Enneagram podcasts. I don't care necessarily who the host is, but I want these topics. So that that's an example. And then on that, intellectual capital is just, as I even look through growing my business, is how can I learn from other people out there? Mm-hmm. And even on this book, I wrote the book, but I was like, I need help. I don't have time to try to churn through this by myself. So I hired a coach. I hired a writing coach, fantastic guy named Chad Allen, who helped with my book. And so I think the other thing I've learned on this intellectual capital piece is I'm not afraid anymore to raise my hand for help. I think there was a time where I was stubborn and I'm like, I'm just going to get through this. I'm a smart guy. I can figure it out. But it's like, no, not anymore. I want a guy that's been there. I don't want to experience all the valleys anymore. Instead, hire somebody, invest. And so there's different things I've hired coaches or mentors for to get me through some things.
Yeah, great. I have a coach. I think it's hard to sell coaching when you don't have one for yourself or you
Right.
haven't really put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
And the last one is financial. We've touched on this. One of the things that I've worked with people who are in or are considering career transition for 20 years, and it is fascinating to me people's relationship with money, how it impacts their ability and willingness to move forward. I've had people say to me, I never have to work again. I don't have to work. They aren't saying it as a brag, but it's just, I don't have to work. But man, I need to get back to work. Or I'm afraid to leave this job I hate. Like, okay, so it's not about not being able to pay your bills, but there's something deeper there. And then other people who are like, yeah, I got to get out of here. Yeah, I don't have two pennies to rub together. And boy, I'm going to have to go get a bartending job or work at Target while I make my transition, but I want to get out of where I am. And so I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so with money, we use it, I think, a lot of time as an excuse for why we won't do what we know we need to do to move forward in life. But it really is something we hide behind. And I don't mean to take anything away from people who really are, in very dire straits and they've got all these responsibilities. But I think and that is certainly the case with many people. But there are a lot of people for whom it really is about fear. It's about risk. It's about lack of confidence. It's really sometimes about not knowing what else they want to do. One of the things I hear most from people is, I don't know what I want to do, but I know it's not this. But the being willing to invest and take the next step to figure out what that is something that it's a tough hump for people to get over, and they find they hide behind money. And we all were raised with different money personalities. If you were raised in a house with nothing, you're going to look at money differently than if you were raised in a house where money was abundant. And so we all have a lot of, as you say, head trash about money, as well as a lot of different things. But money, in my mind, seems to be the thing that people hide behind the most in terms of not being able to make a change.
Yep. I absolutely see that. And, I know even, from my own life, there's been different times where, money has made me not do some things, not take some risk, for sure. I grew up in an amazing home, very grateful. I had, incredible parents, but ended up having, my mom died of cancer when I was 15. And then just the challenges my dad was experiencing around that same time with unemployment. And so even though I really had everything I needed, I still have this scarcity mindset that I had from that time. And so with that scarcity mindset, there are times, even today, as an adult that is, been successful growing a coaching, practice, there's times I can find myself less generous than I wish I was. I mentioned in the book, but there are times where, a bill will come to the table if you're with a group, and I can have alligator arms to reach for that bill.
Yeah.
But then I've got great friends that they're super generous. I love just seeing that. So that is something that I'm still trying to work the rewiring of my brain to figure out, how to get better at it. Because even as I've taken that risk and that jump from corporate into the entrepreneurial world, man, God's provision has been amazing. It has absolutely blown my mind too. And really, I think for any of us, as we look at our own life and we get to see what that looks like, I have clients that I didn't even know 12 months ago.
Sure.
I didn't even know them, but yet they've shown up.
Yes.
and just different things that have happened. And we think those individuals that are feeling stuck, or as you kind of laid out that whole financial capital piece, we all think we have control, and the reality is we don't. We do not have control of all those elements. And so when people are using that money as their driver, man, it's false, because we don't have control.
We don't.
Even when I thought in corporate America I had control, I didn't have control.
No.
If someone want to fire me, they could fire me.
That's right. It's one of my favorite sayings is, your company wants you until the day they don't, and you need to act accordingly. You need to stay in your job until it's no longer serving you, and what your greater purpose is and what your desires are. And if it's you have to take charge of that, because if you don't, someone else will do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things in your book that you mentioned is that you are or have been on a board of an organization called Runa.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about Runa and how that plays into how you look at your career.
Runa is it's a nonprofit that provides sustainable employment to women in India that have been freed from sex slavery. So it is definitely it's an amazing organization. And what is just so neat about the organization, and been blessed to be on the board, I think for probably 4 years or so, 5 years, I can't remember the exact date, but it's been neat to see it where the executive director, his name's Ryan Berg, he's taken this from an idea, and actually now I believe we have 36 women employed. And it started out there just making like drawstring bags, nothing fancy, but it has evolved to now they're making a very high quality product. And you can go to their website, runaproject.com, and you can see the bags. And basically we took the top bags in the country, whether they are from, some of your name brands, and took a look at those bags. How are they made? What are their customers liking about the bags? And then almost did a reverse engineering, but a lot of different innovation that we added that we thought, hey, we want our customers to have these. So basically an athleisure brand, but it's not just a brand that's about a cause. It is cause plus quality product. And so going after that. And so it's just been amazing. And how that applies to me now is getting to see these women. And my wife and I had a chance to go to Mumbai 3 years ago with the organization, and getting to see these women who have no hope, they can't even smile because of living in those awful conditions in the brothels, and having to basically to do tricks all night long, and then getting to see them when they do finally break free, and getting to work and smile and just come to life. I mean, it's amazing to see. And so, for me, and how does that affect my day-to-day and what I do? Because obviously I'm not working in that day-to-day, but it goes back to purpose. I mean, I'm going and I'm working, and it's helped me even with my own financial capital piece, where not only am I grateful for what I have, but I also am able to release more through my different through our family's decisions to make different donations and tithing to our local church, but to different organizations such as Runa, where it's like I've been blessed to get to do what I can do here in the United States. The one thing I have that these women in India don't have is I have a choice.
Right.
I have a choice to get to what I do. And so as we even talk on this podcast, when people feel stuck, man, get unstuck. You've got a choice.
That's right. Absolutely. Being stuck is a choice.
Other people in this nonprofit, or basically who we're working with, they don't have a choice. They've been sold. They are under someone else's control. They don't have a choice. And so if you are feeling stuck, know that, yes, it's a pain. It sucks being stuck. I've been there too. But it's a choice. And so with people that I work with, or I'm talking to buddies, or maybe they are clients, and I've got a few that feel stuck. If you are stuck and you don't have the faith, the financial means, whatever it may be, to take that leap, then start trying some different things that you think you want to pursue. Volunteer somewhere.
Get into action.
Get into action. Volunteer. Set up meetings. Set up different meetings, have lunches, and have coffees with people that you think are in the space you want to go. Go. Find out what they do. Take a day off,
Absolutely. Yeah.
take a vacation day at your current job. Go shadow somebody. Go do some different things, but just don't stay there in the rut without taking any action.
Yes. My challenge for you is that when you meet people, when you meet new people and they say, tell me about yourself, what do you do? My vision is that when people talk about themselves and their career, they also add in the things like Runa, the things that places they spend their time. Because not only do you help executives win at home first, but you're also helping women who are in very bad situations make meaning out of their lives. And that's a part of who you are. And I think we get really focused on, when people ask what we do, just talking about our work. But really, we are, as humans, we're much more complex than that.
Yep.
Another thing that you do that you're clearly passionate about is you are involved in an organization that helps women who are involved in sex trafficking, obviously not of their own choosing, and you help them get out of that. You mentioned it in the book, but I also think it's a big part of who you are. And I'd like to see that become part of your story when you meet somebody new.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, thank you. I will. Yeah, I'll have to add that to it. As you were talking and sharing that, a thing that came to mind, because it's very recent, but also ties in this financial capital. So I just had an amazing experience with my daughter where we just got back from a week long in Nicaragua. And while we were there, we got to spend time with these rural communities, and we were taking water to them. But what's so interesting is there's a comment made that people will make is, how are they so happy? They don't have anything. And they are running around. The kids they're playing soccer with no shoes. They don't have the things. The houses that we worked in are what you visualize, where they're 4 posts and it's a hatch straw roof. It's not a home, but they're running around. They're smiling. They are so happy. And so a comment from maybe, the U.S. would be, well, how are they happy? They don't have anything. But I would argue that if we believe the 5 capitals are right, and they are in the right order: spiritual, relational, the physical, then the intellectual, financial, we've talked about. We say they don't have anything because they don't have the financial capital.
Right.
They don't have the money. They don't have the stuff. They don't have the 10 pairs of shoes to choose from. They don't have all the different clothes to choose from. But yet, they have spiritual capital. They all have relational. A lot of them are multi-generational families living together or right around the corner from each other. So they are high on relational capital. So I would argue that they actually do have the 5 capitals in the right order. And that's what gives them hope. That's what gives them smiles every day. And so as we're talking about that job and those people being stuck, it's, we're putting so much pressure on that financial capital. And I could just see firsthand a couple of weeks ago where the people from Nicaragua that we were dealing with, they don't have the financial capital, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. They don't have Amazon Prime.
Yeah, they do not have every day showing up at their,
right.
And we're guilty of that too at our house. So
yes.
Not throwing stones.
Nope,
we
absolutely.
have Prime down there. But I just think that's another piece. If you were, listening to this and you're feeling stuck, it's, man, as you start to press in those capitals, getting them in the right order, man, there's some greatness on the other side.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I think that brings everything. That's a nice wrap up. Are you ready to play 2 questions, 1 deep and 1 shallow?
Oh, boy.
Okay,
yes,
we end every podcast with 2 questions, 1 deep and 1 shallow. We're going to start with the shallow one first.
Man.
What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever worn?
Most embarrassing thing I've ever worn?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why this is coming to my mind, but in high school, I was in this I went to Oak Park High School, Mr. Oak Park competition, and for some reason I wore a chicken suit in a piece of it. There was different elements, right? There's formal wear, there's question answering.
And then animal suit.
And for some reason in one of these like skits or whatever, I wore a chicken suit, and I guess it still haunts me. Maybe that's it. Maybe I got some things to wrestle with.
And those are the kind of moments when you say, thank heavens we didn't have social media back then, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's what came to mind. So.
Yes. Okay, see, we all have something in our past. All right, now the final question. What breaks your heart?
what breaks my heart. Oh man, we hit on a few already. I mean, the Indian women, seeing them breaks my heart, that they are ripped out of a life that could bring them joy, that they're with their families, but instead they're ripped out and basically held captive by evil. And so what breaks my heart is when people are controlled under basically evil things, where things aren't meant to be.
Yeah. There's no shortage of that.
There's no shortage of that. I mean, a phrase I live by and think about, it's in the book, is in John 10:10, Jesus says, "I came to give life to the full." And we're supposed to live life to the full.
We are.
And so when I see people not living that way, and it breaks my heart. I mean, I even, that's a story of like in India, but even today, like I'll have clients and they literally will say like, I have no joy. Nothing brings me joy. And that just, that breaks my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when people aren't living life to the full.
Yes. So I'm going to remind our listeners, the name of the book is Win at Home First. It's available, I'm assuming, on the aforementioned Amazon and
That's
every
right.
place
That's
else.
right.
Yes. It can probably be at your doorstep by tomorrow. And how can we get in touch with you, Corey, if we want to know more?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for letting me be on this podcast, share my journey. Definitely appreciate it, Julie. So thank you. My website is CoreyMCarlson.com. All social media at Carlson Corey, and then just plain old email Corey@CoreyMCarlson.com. Love to hear from you.
Well, carry on. You're doing great work.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
If you enjoyed meeting the evolved careerist on today's episode, well, we've got a lot more lined up for you. Subscribe, tell your friends, rate us and write a review. And of course, follow us on social media. But if you're interested in learning more about how you can evolve your career, you can contact us through theevolvedcareer.com or thebaukegroup.com, and that's Bauke. Do you know somebody who'd be a great guest, who has a great career story to tell? Or do you think you qualify? Then email me. My email address is in the podcast description. Until next time, here's to your career happiness.